You're standing in front of your rack or your bedroom desk, staring at a list of digital organs, and the thought keeps coming back. What if I spend my cash on a model that sounds great in the specs sheet, but falls flat when I actually sit down and play? That hesitation is real, especially when you know there are a handful of options that promise that classic Hammond vibe without the weight of a vintage stack. I felt the same way before I dug into the Nord Organ 3 dual combo, so let's walk through what matters when you're trying to decide if this is the right organ for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Nord Organ 3 isn't trying to be a full-size, 73-key beast. It's a 61-key instrument, and that's a deliberate design choice for players who need portability without sacrificing the essential organ feel. The 3-sensor keybed is what sets the playing experience apart from a lot of other combo organs. Those sensors pick up each key press with a level of responsiveness that feels surprisingly close to a real drawbar organ, especially when you're doing fast, rhythmic runs or rapid chord changes. In a live gig, that translates to less lag between what you think and what the speakers actually output, which is something you notice instantly when you're sharing the stage with a drummer or a guitarist. The biggest draw for many organists is the built-in rotary speaker emulation. Traditionally, getting that lush, swirling Leslie sound meant hauling a bulky cabinet, dealing with its power requirements, and hoping the venue could accommodate it. With the Organ 3, Nord has packed a manipulable rotary speaker model directly into the unit, and you can tweak the speed with a simple knob. In my own rehearsal room, I was able to dial in a gentle chorus for a ballad, then crank the acceleration for a gritty solo without ever touching an external amp or effect unit. That kind of on-the-fly control saves you both rack space and setup time, which is a huge practical win for gigging musicians who need to be in and out of a venue quickly. Another feature that quietly solves a common pain point is the per-program transpose functionality. If you ever find yourself at a church or a jam session where the song's key is a half step higher than your usual setting, you can shift the entire program up or down without reprogramming any drawbar positions. It's a small thing, but in a live context it means you don't have to scramble through menus while the audience is waiting. For studio work, it speeds up the workflow. Lay down a progression, then slide the transpose knob to test how the same organ voicing sits in a different key, all while the OLED screen keeps the current program number front and center. Speaking of the OLED screen, it's more than just a pretty display. It shows you the active program, the position of each LED drawbar, and the current rotary speed. Because the drawbars themselves are LED lit rather than physical levers, the screen becomes your visual anchor. In a dimly lit club, you can glance at the OLED and instantly confirm you're in the right patch, which eliminates the guesswork that sometimes happens with older digital organs where the drawbars don't light up. The LED indicators also make it easy to recall preset settings after a quick power cycle, something I found valuable when I'm switching between rehearsal and performance rigs. Now, who actually gets the most out of the Nord Organ 3? If you're a gigging organist who needs a reliable, road-ready instrument that can sit on a small stand, plug into a PA, and still deliver that classic organ texture, this is a solid match. It's also a good fit for home studio players who want authentic rotary sounds without the expense of a Leslie cabinet, and for church musicians who need to cover a range of hymns but have limited space backstage. The per-program transpose and the quick rotary controls make it especially handy when you have to adapt on the fly, whether that's for a worship set that moves through several keys or a jam where the band decides to shift the groove mid-song. On the flip side, there are clear cases where you might want to look elsewhere. If you're an organ purist who insists on a full 73-key manual and tactile drawbars that you can feel under your fingers, the 61-key layout and LED drawbars could feel limiting. The lack of physical drawbars means you lose that subtle tactile feedback that some players rely on for nuanced expression. Also, if you're budgeting strictly and need a unit that comes with built-in speakers, the Organ 3 requires an external amp or PA system, which adds to the overall cost. Lastly, players who need extensive preset storage for dozens of complex layers might find the memory capacity a bit tight, since Nord focuses on a streamlined approach rather than a massive library of user-editable banks. When it comes to day-to-day usability, the organ shines in its simplicity. Plug it in, select a program, set your drawbars, and you're ready to